Hi, judges. We're Wheeler Team 2. This is our presentation on our Sustainable Water Resource Management Plan for the Pawcatuck Aquifer. I'm Miles. I'm a sophomore.
I'm Emma. I'm a junior.
I'm Stefan, and I'm a sophomore.
I'm Harry, and I'm also a sophomore.
I'm Darshan, and I'm a senior.
All right, so the first step that we took to sort of get a sustainable water resource management plan was to rank the severity of each location near the reservoir's environmental impact to determine the priorities of our solution. So I ranked here from highest to lowest impact. So our highest impact locations included the turf farm and the farming operations in general, the dry cleaner, the ski resort, the former landfill, the National Grid gas site, water park, and gravel and cement operations. And the reason why I ranked these so high was because a lot of these are associated with phosphorus and nitrogen-based fertilizers, which boost the algae growth to unsafe levels in nearby lakes and water bodies, reducing the available oxygen for other aquatic species, which is known as an algal bloom. And the sediment waste resulting from the mining operations often can reduce not only the quality, but the quantity of safe drinking water for wildlife. The toxic waste from landfills, otherwise known as batteries, oil, pesticides, and paint, can leach into groundwater systems very easily. And the water park is a massive source of gray water, which is water that is used by humans for utilities such as showers and sinks that do not come into contact with fecal matter, which is not directed or used in a way that it can be used. And so our moderate and lower impact locations share similar problems to these higher impact ones, but they're not as severe. So I'll let the other people sort of go over those more in depth throughout the rest of the presentation.
All right, so to go over our first two high impact land uses. First is turf farms and just general farming operations in the Pawcatuck area. The problem with these, or how they'd affect, like Stefan said, phosphorus and nitrogen from over-fertilization and runoff could cause algae blooms downstream, and this would degrade the water quality. So to solve these problems, we'd implement bills in the legislature to educate farmers on sustainable farming, or maybe try and regulate so we know what fertilizers they're using, and also to implement control of the runoff, so we know where it's going. Maybe we could test it and make sure it's not too high in phosphorus and nitrogen. With the dry cleaners is our second high impact land use. It's phosphorus and nitrogen based detergents. So with this, we can't really educate people, but the solution would be to regulate what detergents people could use. Make sure they're not too high in phosphorus and nitrogen, they're not causing too many problems.
Former landfills could have been constructed before the current regulations for sanitary landfills were put in place, and as a result, they can still allow toxins to leach into the groundwater. So depending on the area and the depth of this landfill, we have a few different ideas of how to manage it. The first is to excavate it and moving that debris to a new sanitary landfill. But if the area is smaller, it could be covered with plastic sheets over which more soil can be placed, allowing grass to grow, or it could be paved over with concrete and developed. Both of these options prevent water from coming in contact with the toxins in the first place, so it can't leach into the groundwater. Another issue is the sediment-filled water that comes out of mining operations and cement. And this water would have to be captured before it can carry that sediment into a river or other water body, either by adding pipelines and draining systems to collect the water and let it flow into a tank where the sediment can settle out, or by letting that water flow into an open grassy field where it could be filtered naturally without a high impact on the environment.
A problem in veteran cemeteries is the decomposition of human products, which causes leachate and pathogens, ammonia gas, and carbon dioxide. Wood fabrics and plastics from the coffins also decompose. A solution to this problem is to locate the cemeteries on bedrock with clay mineral content to decrease percolation into the groundwater. We could also create a license for cemeteries to ensure safety of the environment. Residential areas also pose threats to groundwater through pesticides and fertilizers from lawns, as well as contaminants from domestic sewage. To address this issue, we could create bills to regulate the amount of pesticides and contaminants that communities are allowed to dispose of and use.
All right, so other areas of high impact that we designated were the water park and ski resort. And we grouped these two together because the main issue we highlighted was common, and that was the large amount of gray water that was being put into the sewer system. And this is a waste because since gray water does not contain any fecal matter, it can be used for things like irrigation at agricultural sites or like back in the household. So a particular solution we had for this issue is the creation of new pipelines slash infrastructure to redirect this water away from the sewer system and back to those places to be recycled.
And to sort of reiterate, the primary environmental problems that we encountered with this issue included the misdirection of gray water, the percolation of leachates into the ground, phosphorus and nitrogen fertilizers causing algal blooms in water bodies, and sediment waste coming from mining operations ruining the quality of water. So the solutions that we have proposed for each respective issue include pipeline systems to irrigate gray water into farming areas to conserve this drinkable water in the reservoir for people and animals, to implement plastic sheets and concrete above the ground in landfills to prevent leaching harmful chemicals from the trash into the ground, and digging and lining channels along riverbanks to control the runoff, to mitigate the amount of phosphorus and nitrogen-based fertilizers that are sort of getting into that area and harming aquatic life. And finally, filtering out the sediment-infused water from mining operations in tanks, allowing the sediment to settle out of the water.
Thank you so much.